Alright, boys and girls, welcome back to the drive-thru. Special shout out to my boy Carson. We got an audience of one here, a live studio audience. Always prefer to teach to human beings. And what this is, it's a wrap-up of Chapter 2. Okay? So there's not a whole lot of new things. And I encourage you to pause the video and read this long passage to start. Okay, so now I realize that this is a review of all of the things that we have learned in the first two chapters. Is it linear or exponential? Is it continuous or is it discrete? Is it arithmetic or geometric? Do we have the intercept? Do we have the slope? Do we have points? That's what we're going to be doing for this video. So, in his job selling vacuums, Joe makes $500 each month plus $20 for each vacuum he sells. Write the equation that describes Joe's monthly income. Monthly income. So, I, as a function of n. So, I of n, income is the number, n is the number of vacuums sold. So, how do we figure out how much money he has per month, how much income he has based on the number n vacuums sold? Well, I think if he sold no vacuums, he would still have $500. So that is our Y-intercept. Hopefully you're starting to get good at picking up the Y-intercept, okay? The slope in this equation is 20. He makes $20 for every vacuum that he sells, okay? So, name the form that we wrote. The function is linear. It is discrete. Why is it discrete, Carson?
Because it goes on and on.
It's discrete because he can't sell a fraction of a vacuum. He's got to sell whole number vacuums. That's the difference between continuous and discrete, okay? I took up too much space, but that's okay. It does go on forever and ever, but it's whole number values. Okay? Write the equation of a line with a slope of -1 through the point. Okay, so it's a line, so we know that it's linear. And I think it's continuous because lines have infinitely many points to them. Okay? So what's the equation? Well, I'm going to write it like this. Y minus 5 equals -1 times x minus -2. Minus a negative turns into a positive. So I used point slope form. Okay? Name the form of the equation. Point slope. Sorry. And why did I choose to use it? Because I was given a point and I was given the slope. Name the form of this equation. This is slope intercept. Why did I use that? Carson, why did I use slope intercept in the first one? Because I had the slope of the intercept, right? Pretty simple stuff. Doesn't make it easy. All right, write the equation for the geometric sequence with a constant ratio of r and a first term of 3. Remember, we said that f of n was b, which is the y-intercept, times r raised to the n power. Okay? So, this one, first term is -3. Well, the first term of -3. So we, watch. The first term is -3, right? What's the second term? -15, right? Sorry, -15? Because it's got a constant ratio of 5. So what's the third term, Carson? What is -15 times +5? -75. Now, what would the 0th term be? -3 divided by 5. Okay? We're just going to leave it like that. Okay, so we could also call it negative 0.6. Gosh, there's not enough room to do these on here. So, what is our Y-intercept? It is negative 0.6. That is our B. So f of n is, sorry, that's an n. I hate this board. Negative 0.6 times, what is our r? 5 to the n power. Okay? This function is continuous exponential. Okay? This is the only form I know. Okay? Alright, number 3. Let's answer the questions first. Is this linear? Is it discrete or continuous? Can we only put in whole numbers? Is it dots or is it a line? It's a line. If it's a line, it's continuous. If it's dots, it's discrete. Okay? Alright. Now, what's the Y-intercept? B equals negative 3. To find our slope, well, it's kind of hard to find on there, so let's identify 2 points. And we'll just do, so one of our points would be 0, negative 3. Give me another point on the line. I think, how about 4, comma 0? Can we use that one? Okay. Is this slope positive or negative? So it's change in y over change in x. So it's negative 3, negative 3 minus 0 over 0 minus 4. That's negative 3 over negative 4. So our slope is 3/4. You could have also just done that by counting on your graph. Rise over run. Up 3 over 4. Okay? So, what's our equation? Instead of y, I guess we're supposed to use f of n. So, a function of n equals mx plus b, right? So it's it's positive 3/4. If you had that as 0.75, no problem. X minus 3. Got it? Okay, moving on. Number 4. The population of the resort town, Hava Springs, was estimated to be 35,000 people, with an annual rate increase of 2.4%. Write the equation that models the number of people in T years. So we are currently at 35,000. That is our Y-intercept. That's where we're starting. So that's our B. Now, our R is not 2.4 because it's increasing by 2.4. If it didn't change, 100% of the people would be here next year. So if it increased, our R is 102.4%. It's a 2.4% increase over what we had the previous year. So 2.4 more than 100%. What I want you to know is 100% means we stayed exactly the same. Okay? Now, do you know how to make that into a decimal? Because we don't want percent in our equation. Move the decimal. That much. So it's 1.024 is our R. So what's our equation? F of n equals, what's our B? 35,000 times 1.024 to the n power, okay? Is this right? And it is discrete. We could calculate a millionth of a year if we wanted, okay? All right, moving on. Jessica involved these seeds. So I'm going to turn it into a T chart because I just prefer that. Carson, what's my first term?
1.7.
Second term.
2.9.
If you had to guess, Carson, would you say this is linear or exponential?
Linear.
I agree. It appears to be linear because it's not growing super fast. Okay? How did I get from 1.7 to 2.9?
Plus 1.2.
Right? We're adding 1.2 every time. So what does that 1.2 represent? So good, Carson. Okay? What else do we need to write the equation of a line?
We need the Y-intercept.
We do need the Y-intercept. How are we going to find it?
Subtract 1.7 minus.
And 1.7 minus 1.2 is 1.5. That is our B. So what is the equation? Y equals, give it to me.
1.2 plus
No, 1.2n, or x, right,
times
plus 0.5. Y equals mx plus b. Okay? And maybe instead of y here, since we're doing this in this book, and this book prefers the function notation right now, we will call that f a function of n. It's the same thing. Okay? Is this function linear or exponential? Continuous?
yeah.
The growth of the seed. I think it is, but I'm not even going to circle one here. I don't know. Can we divide the week in half? I think you can, but then you're going to have half weeks. I don't know. I'm not worried about it. Okay? All right, number 6. The equation gives us information that we can use to graph the function. Pick out the important information and graph it. Love it. I'm going to need the line tool here. Okay? Look at the equation, Carson. What's the Y-intercept? -5, right? That means this graph will start at -5. What is the slope?
1/2.
The slope is 1/2. So if I go over 1, do I go up a half or down a half?
You go up 1 to the right.
That's right. So there. And this is as accurate as I can be. Over 1, up a half, over 1. Oh dear. God bless the ViewSonic. I missed my inner right. Okay. So now let's turn on my line feature and see if I can draw the line that goes through all those points. That's not bad. Carson, are you okay with that? Okay? Okay. Number 7. Y equals 2 to the n. Now I want you to know this, Carson. What this really means, whoops, is y equals 1 times 2 to the n. Does that help you a little bit? Do you remember that we had y equals b times r to the n power? So what's our b? It's 1. If we put in a 0, and you should just do this in your calculator. In fact, let's do this. This is exactly how we should do this question. All right, so my boy Carson pulled up Desmos. Just give me a second, Carson. All right, so we're going to type in y equals 2 to the x on Desmos. Y equals, oh, you did plus, no problem. I do it all the time. Equals 2, and then you got to hit this caret button, which is Shift 6, and then x. All right, notice, what's the y-intercept? It's 0, 1. Let's go back. Remember this 1? That's why I added it there. What's the r? 2. Well, what that means is on our graph, every time I go over 1, the amount that it's going up is doubling by 2. That means that it's exponential. Do you agree? Okay, so this is what the graph looks like. Now let's answer some questions. Let's see. 0, 1. This is so hard to draw on this. If I put in a 2, I get a 4. If I put in a 3, I get an 8. Sonic! And that's what the graph looks like. This is not linear. So what do you know about the equation? R equals 2. Yeah, that's a 2 by ViewSonic. And B, sorry, I screwed that up. Yes, R equals 2. And what's B, Carson?
1.
B equals 1. Okay? And what do you know? It's exponential. That's what I know. It's all I know. And it's not linear. Good. All right. I don't like number 8. So I'm going to make it look one of 2 different ways. What if I subtracted 8 from both sides? You would have y minus 8 equals negative 2 times x plus 6. Well, that's point slope form. What's our slope? M is negative 2, and the point on the graph is, let's see, negative 6 comma positive 8. Okay? But that's not what I would really do, probably. If I had y equals negative 2 times x plus 6 plus 8, I would just turn it into y equals mx plus b. So y equals negative 2x minus 12 plus 8, right? So y equals negative 2x minus 4. Okay? So, and what's the slope? Negative 2. No, negative 2, right? So over 1 down 2. Come on now, ViewSonic. Over 1 down 2. Now let's get my line tool. This is just so frustrating to do it in a place where the network doesn't work. And there we go. Now, I want you to notice, I said the point negative 6, 8 was on it, and that's pretty close to being all over it. So that was good. We figured that out. Okay? Now that we've gotten to this, what do we know about this graph? What's the slope? And the intercept? Okay? All right. I'll tell you what, I'm going to wrap it up after this, because 20 minutes is long enough. If you've made it this far, you'll be able to go on and do the last unit so you can take the final formative assessment and then take your test. So here we go. F of 1 is negative 5. f of n. So now we got a recursive formula. So to find the next one, what do we do?
Write the first term.
Okay, good. Go ahead. And what's 2?
2 is
It's one more, right? Add 1. What's 3?
-3.
4.
-2.
Oh, I got it. This is the best I got with the tools that I'm given by Sycamore. Okay? Do you understand that?
Yeah.
What's the slope?
Slope is 1.
What's the Y-intercept?
-6.
Okay? What do you know from the equation? That's what I know. It's linear. You feel good about this section?
Yeah.
You ready to tear up this formative assessment?
Yeah.
We'll see you in the afternoon. Can I get a boom?
Boom.